Okay, 17 and 1. This is the bracket 4 combo deck. This was the first Invisit deck I ever put together, and I've tuned it since. And this is my list. And the primary goal of this list, as you'll see from this, it's a combo deck. So, there's two main combos in this deck. There is the Teferi Displace a Kitten Mox Amber combo, for anyone who's not aware of that. You use Teferi to bounce the Mox Amber, cast the Mox Amber, triggering the Displace a Kitten to flicker Teferi, which will then let you reactivate Teferi, bouncing the Mox after you've made mana with it. The second combo and the primary combo that we win with is the Felidar Guardian Saheeli Ray combo. So for those of you who don't know, if you have both of these cards on the field, you can -2 the Saheeli to create a token copy of the Felidar Guardian with haste. The token copy of Felidar Guardian will let you blink a permanent you control. You blink the Saheeli, resetting Saheeli similar to the Displace a Kitten, and that allows you to then basically just go infinite. Infinite hasty 1/1s to swing in and kill. And these two combos feed into each other. If we can set up the Teferi Displace a Kitten Mox Amber combo, even if those are the only things on the field, we can use the blue-white mana we can make from the Mox to cast the Felidar Guardian to blink a land to recast the Saheeli. We basically use the land to generate to make a red mana. Furthermore, that's a more powerful way of doing it because of Teferi's static, preventing interaction. But that's just the end game of the deck. So let's look at the other things we have here. So we'll start with our ramp package. There's two sides to this. We have multicolored ramp and monocolored ramp. So this is a deck that only uses the lands from the video last week. Our monocolored ramps are Search for Tomorrow, Bloom Tender, which can tap for up to 5 mana, which is sick. Free Visits, gets any forest for fixing. Dig Up, this is another fixing / could be a tutor in the late game. And Farseek, with the addition of Widespread Thievery. I know that some people don't consider this a ramp card. I do. Basically, if we cast any multicolored spell, we make a treasure. It also can dig and do some other stuff. But we also run some more fixing / mana ramp. We have World Soul's Rage, which is a Golgari X spell that lets us return lands from our graveyard or lands from our hand onto the battlefield. Now, if we've cracked a few fetch lands, this can be like a 4 mana ramp 2. Also, we can just early game just make an extra land drop if you want to. It's very rare that it's a huge X, but it is a small ramp scale. Faber Elder is basically a Bloom Tender, but better. Safe Ride Quest is a card I recommend everyone play in a Niv Mizzet deck. It is a hybrid Selesnya, so it's hittable with Niv Mizzet, and it finds a forest or plains. Doesn't have to be basic, so it can really help you fix, particularly with our more advanced mana base. We have Kellen, the Inquisitive Prodigy. Specifically, we have Tail the Suspect, which is essentially a growth spiral. Well, it's more of a put an extra land into play. It doesn't let you draw a card, but you do make a clue. Then we have Ren and 6. Early game Ren and 6 on turn 2, getting your lands back can be good as well. Also, just if you've got an established board, dropping a Ren and 6 to constantly just buy back fetch lands is really good, because we run all 10 in the deck, obviously. That is a Japanese growth spiral. I love that card. I love that art. If you see me play on Arena, I'm so happy that I got one in paper. And we have the newest edition, Biotech Specialist. I've just been impressed with the fact that it's a 2-drop that can help us later game ramp and sort out our lands. With that in mind, we'll go into our other things. So let's start with tutors. There's 3 in this deck. We don't have any game changers, but we have Ringsight, Bring to Light as traditional tutors that will find stuff out of our deck, put it in our hand or on the battlefield. And we have Limdol's Vault, which technically isn't a tutor, but let's be real, it's a tutor. We look at the top 5 over and over until we find the cards we want. So, yeah, we can even Limdol's Vault into Bring to Light, stuff like that to figure out what we need. We have 4 board wipes in this deck. Like I said, we do have value creatures in this deck, but primarily we just want to control the board. So we have Culling Ritual to wipe away anything with mana value 2 or less and ramp us. We are a Gigantha deck, so we can use the excess mana from Culling Ritual to fire off a Gigantha to give us more mana. Last one standing. I'm really happy with this board wipe, particularly if it's an excessive board where there's a ton of creatures. You have to get really unlucky sometimes for that to happen. Solar Blaze deals damage to itself. Each creature deals damage to itself, so takes out most creatures in Commander. It's very rare nowadays that a Commander has more toughness than actual power. But if that's the case, we can keep going. and oversimplify. This is a card which I think needs to see more play. It's basically 5 mana exile everything, everyone gets a fractal. Now, yes, obviously if there's a huge board like 100 power in dragons and you make 100, I mean, it's going to get rough if you can't follow it up. But also, it's one creature that you'll also have a creature to block with. It's a card I think more people should play and look into. We have our buybacks here in case any of our combo pieces get taken out or we need to re-buy back spells. We run the traditional Treasured Find, which gets any card back from our graveyard, and Reborn Hope to get back a multicolored card, which is, let's be real, 99% of this deck. Cosmic Rebirth, I've played this a ton in Pioneer and other formats. 3 mana, gain 3 life, return a permanent to your hand if it's 3 or less to the battlefield. Really good, solid hand. Now, we have 8 value creatures. These are just creatures I run. You could run your favorites in any way here, but this is like the 8 that I run for this deck. Basically, these are high impact cards that I want to do something in addition to our other stuff. So, starting off, we have Joshua, Phoenix Dominant. He's a looter that flips into a saga that can reanimate. Really good card. I think he's underplayed at the moment. General Furious Roderick. This is the star of multicolored decks. Whenever we cast a multicolored spell, we make a 4/4. Also, hexproof monocolored. Huge. A lot of things can't kill that, particularly in the format where everyone is super efficient with their removal. Cardroll the Doomscourge is one of my favorite shooter targets if an opponent has a huge board and I have like a board wipe. But you know, I'm like, I'm going to make use of your board first. I'm going to goad you so you use it, then I'll board wipe you on the next turn. Also, Cardor with Displace a Kitten is the most grossest thing you'll ever see. Uro, the Titan of Nature's Wrath. Don't really need to go into this card. It is a 3 mana. It's also technically ramp because it draws you a card, puts a land into play. But it's also a huge 6/6 mana beater that you can get down if you have some late game backup. We have Wandering Mind, which lets us dig top 6 for a non-creature, non-land card. Pretty good to dig. Ren the Relentless. This card is just stupid. So this is Ward 2/3/4. And if opponent and a creature would control die, it gets exiled. And then at the beginning of each end step, not just your own, create X 1/1 black rat tokens. And they get +1/+1 for each other rat you control. And X is the number of creatures your opponents control that were exiled this turn. So if you kill 2 things, you make 2 rats at the end of each turn. It's powerhouse, and it has ward, yeah, and it shuts off graveyard, so 100% get a vote for Ren. Lelia, Undefeated Slickshot, a 3/3 prowess. The only thing we care about is when you cast a multicolored instant or sorcery spell from your hand, you exile it instead of putting it into graveyard and it becomes plotted, so you have to cast it again at sorcery speed next turn. Layla is a must kill on sight for this deck, because if we get her out and say use a couple of kill spells or a couple of value spells, next turn we get to cast them again, even if you kill Layla. And Jensen Carfelian, the Druid Exile. So he basically just scries every time we cast a multicolored spell, and if we cast a 5-color spell, we can make a 4/4 Angel. He can also tap for 5 to give us Wooburg if we need more fixing, but it's very rare that we do that. But yeah, he's a good value creature, the incidental value, and gives us more abilities. But that's a bulk of our deck. The rest of our deck is interaction. So first of all, I want to highlight a few odds and ends. We have Rusella, Kingpin. She's a 5 mana creature that introduces the initiative. I personally love the initiative. I love it, and I'll explain it in a different video later. But she's also one of the creatures that if we complete a dungeon, she gives some insane stats. Also, just giving any creature Death Touch when we attack means that we can trade up or get the initiative back super easily. She's a really fun creature and very cheap if anyone wants her for initiative. We then have 2 big spells. So these are 2 big spells that can end the game, but in 2 different ways. We have Ink Shield, which prevents all combat damage and makes, for each 1 point of damage prevented this way, we make 2/1 Inkling tokens with flying. So someone swings out of us, say with like a Board of Dragons for 25 damage. We cast this, make 25 2/1 tokens, and yeah, we can then crack back and kill them. Forfeolingus is similar, but not the way of doing it. We can get a bunch of hasty trample tokens out of nowhere, but also can give us the Monarch. But 9 times out of 10, I've used this a lot more though. in smaller situations where I'm like, I'm just going to make a couple of knights, swing in, get the monarch going, and grind the advantage that way. It's a really good spell and should be looked into. We also have Stupid Sexy Oko, Oko the Thief of Crowns. Yeah, you'd be surprised how gut-wrenchingly good he is. Elking opponents' commanders, if their entire strategy is built around it, is game-breaking. But also just, in general, just the threat of it being like, you hit Oko off a Niv, and you have Oko in your hand, it will discourage people from playing scary creatures, knowing that you can just literally elk the creature. Particularly if it's a game-ending one, because then nobody will trade for it, and you'll have a really good thing from there. With that in mind, the rest of our deck is pure interaction. So, this first slide is 4 spells which have basically card advantage stapled onto other abilities that we can use, or things. We have Kolaghan's Command, which can rebuy creatures if they get destroyed. Then we have Flame of Anor, which can draw cards, destroy artifacts, 5 damage. Expressive Iteration is the best 2-mana cantrip I think has ever been printed. Don't quote me on that, I'm sure I'm forgetting something insane, but yeah, 2 mana to basically draw 2 cards, put 1 on the bottom of your deck is really good. Azorius Charm. You'd be surprised how often the secret third mode of this gets people. Most people play it for the lifelink ability. Giving all your creatures lifelink is a huge swing if you're in a more grindier game. Also, just cycling it to draw a card is pretty good. But the amount of time someone has swung out to try and kill me and I've put the creature back on top of their library, it's really impressive. Like, it's a fun spell for me. You don't have to run any of these, but this is what I'm running. We run 2 traditional counter spells. We have Dovin's Veto and Drown in the Loch. I was so lucky to open that special guest art in one of my packs. I was so happy when I did. Then we have removal for troublesome artifacts and enchantments. So we have Rakdos Charm, Hull Breach, Rip Apart, and Mortify. These are things that can kill artifacts and enchantments as we require them. Then we have specific stuff for creature removal. We have Kaya's Gall with an Edict, which is also a graveyard hate, which is also life gain because it's such a good card. We have Struggle Survive. This is removal for creatures because it does damage equal to the number of land you control. And Survive is basically buy back your graveyard. Terminate. It's a 2-mana kill spell. And Tyrant Scorn, which is kill small creatures or bounce a troublesome creature. Then finally we have answer any permanent spells. We have Despark, exile anything 4 greater. Anguished Unmaking, exile any non-land permanent. Maelstrom Pulse, take out any non-land permanent, and we can take out a huge board of them. For example, if everyone has a Soul Ring, we can blow them all up. If someone has 50 tokens with the same name, we can blow all them up. Assassin's Trophy, solid answer that will take out anything scary. And Vindicate, which is basically Anguished Unmaking, but for any permanent. And that's the deck. So, as I said before, the main purpose of this deck is to achieve the combo. But the way you want to do that is you have to really play this threat assessment game. You want to buy time, use your interaction sparingly when things are threatening, and eventually get into a situation where you can set up something really advantageous. For example, most recent game I played with it, I culling ritualed early game because the Enchantress player had gone really hard into Siphis and loads of small enchantments and things, and that set up a situation where I had enough mana left over to then play the Displacer Kitten with Niv on the battlefield, which then just led to some insane, like at that point the opponent really couldn't stop anything, because by the time they were able to board wipe / take out the Displacer Kitten Niv, I'd flickered Niv 3 or 4 times, and I'd set up a situation where I had Saheeli Ray, a Bring to Light, the Veto, 2 ways to get stuff back. I think it was Reborn Hope and Cosmic Rebirth. And I also just had tons of mana in hand. But that's what you got to do with this deck. If you're going to play a deck like this, it's basically 5 color, bracket 4, control, combo. So you got to control the game and make an opening for you to then go for the combo that's protected, while also incrementally tempoing up advantage. I won't talk about it anymore, that's more deck theory, but this is my main deck, and that's part 2 of 17, and we'll get through the rest of them eventually.